One lucky day. The sky, heavy with clouds, hinted at snow, but only a light drizzle fell. For Kim Chomji, a rickshaw puller in Dongso-mun, this day was indeed a rare stroke of luck. He had started his day escorting a lady from her home to the bus stop, hoping to find a passenger. After some waiting, he finally picked up a gentleman who appeared to be a school teacher and took him to Dongwang School. First 30 Jones, then 50. Early morning earnings were a rare blessing. Kim Chomji, who hadn't seen a single coin in nearly 10 days, was overwhelmed with joy when those 3 10-John coins and 5-John coins jingled in his hand. It wasn't just the immediate relief of earning 80 Johns, it meant he could afford a glass of soju to soothe his parched throat, and more importantly, buy a bowl of solongtang for his ailing wife. His wife had been coughing for over 2 weeks, confined to bed for more than a week due to their inability to afford food or medicine. Though Kim Chomji believed that prescribing medicine only prolonged illness, his wife's worsening condition was alarming. Her health had taken a sharp downturn about 10 days earlier, shortly after eating a hurriedly cooked meal. On that occasion, with some money in hand, Kim Chomji had bought 3 pounds of millet and a piece of firewood for 10 Johns, a rare occurrence. Trusting her husband, his wife had eagerly cooked the millet. Impatient and with the flames barely kindling, she had stuffed the half-cooked millet into her mouth, causing her cheeks to swell. From that night, she complained of chest pains and stomach cramps, claiming to be food poisoned. Furious, Kim Chomji had scolded her. "You fool, we're doomed either way. Whether you eat or starve, you get sick. What are we supposed to do? Why can't you even open your eyes properly?" He yelled, slapping her cheek. Her eyes opened slightly, tears welling up. Tears also filled Kim Chomji's eyes. Despite her illness, she had been begging him for Sol Yongtang broth for 3 days. "This damned woman can't even eat regular rice, yet she wants Sol Yongtang, driving me mad," he had scolded, though deep down he felt the weight of their poverty. Now, with 80 Johns in hand, he could finally buy the Sol Yongtang his wife craved, and even some porridge for their hungry 3-year-old child, nicknamed Dog Shit. Kim Chomji's heart swelled with joy at the prospect. His luck seemed endless. As he wiped his sweaty neck with his greasy handkerchief, mixed with rainwater, he heard a voice calling from behind. He turned to see a student from the school running towards him. "How much to Namdaemun Station?" the student asked, clearly intending to head home for vacation. The rain, his luggage, and his cheap rain-soaked suit suggested he needed a ride. "Are you going to Namdaemun Station?" Kim Chomji hesitated. Was he unwilling to make the journey in the rain? Was he satisfied with his morning's earnings? No, definitely not. He felt a strange fear at this sudden stroke of luck. His wife's pleading words from earlier that day echoed in his mind. Her emaciated face, only her eyes full of life, whispered weakly, "Please, don't go out today. Stay home because of me. I'm so sick." Indifferent, he had snapped back. "Damn it. What nonsense. If I stay with you, who will provide for us?" He had tried to leave, but she had reached out, her voice hoarse. "If you must go, come back soon." Her words lingered as he considered the student's request. "So, how much to Namdaemun Station?" the student repeated, glancing nervously at Kim Chomji. 1 and 50 John. How the amount slipped from Kim Chomji's mouth, surprising even him. It had been so long since he had mentioned such a sum. His desire to earn money overpowered his concern for his wife. He couldn't afford to miss this golden opportunity, despite the ominous feeling. 1 and 50 Johns is too much, the student said, doubtful. "Not at all. Considering the distance, it's a fair fare. Especially on a day like this, a little extra is needed," replied Kim Chomji, his face bright with joy. "In that case, as you wish. Let's go quickly," the student agreed, gathering his belongings. As Kim Chomji set off with the student, his legs felt oddly light. Rather than running, it was as if he was almost flying. The wheels spun rapidly, akin to a figure skater gracefully gliding across ice on the rain-slicked ground. However, as they neared his home, his legs grew heavier, and a sudden worry pressed upon his heart. "Don't go out today. I'm so sick," echoed in his ears, accompanied by the accusing eyes of the patient. It felt as if he could hear dog shit's whining and faint gasps for breath. Lost in these thoughts, Kim Chomji suddenly realized he had stopped in the middle of the road, holding the rickshaw. "Why are you stopping?" I might miss the train, the person who had boarded the rickshaw anxiously exclaimed. Yes, yes, Kim Chomji replied, snapping out of his reverie and breaking into a jog once again. As his home grew farther away, a sense of exhilaration began to return to Kim Chomji's steps. He pushed his legs harder, as if to forget all the worries and concerns that had been weighing on his mind incessantly. Upon reaching the station, he was rewarded with an unexpectedly generous fare of 1 won and 50 jeons. Despite the 3-mile journey through rain-soaked streets, he felt as if he had received it for free, elated and grateful as if he had become rich overnight. Bending down several times to the young passenger, who was barely half his age, he politely wished him a safe journey. Wishing you a safe journey, he repeated, bowing deeply. However, returning with an empty rickshaw in this weather was out of the question. As the sweat from his labor cooled, a chill crept through his wet clothes from his hungry stomach. The 1 won and 50 jeons in his pocket felt both precious and agonizingly heavy. His steps away from the station lacked strength. His body felt limp, as if he might collapse right there. Cursed weather. Returning with this empty rickshaw in the rain. Why does this motherfucking rain have to hit me in the face like this? He grumbled, frustration boiling over as he rebelled against the relentless downpour. A new idea flashed in his mind. Maybe instead of going straight back, I should circle around nearby and wait for a passenger to hail. Who knows, I might pick up another fare. With his luck being so unpredictable, he believed that such a stroke of fortune could happen again. He convinced himself that luck was just around the corner. However, he couldn't bring himself to stand in front of the station, fearing the judgment of other rickshaw pullers. As he had done several times before, he positioned his rickshaw a little away from the main station, between the pedestrian path and the railway tracks, and began to circle the area, observing the situation. It didn't take long for the train to arrive, and dozens of people poured out of the station. Among them, Kim Chomji's eyes caught sight of a woman wearing a cloak, with a Western hairstyle and high-heeled boots. She seemed like either a call girl or a rebellious schoolgirl. He approached her cautiously. "Miss, would you like to ride the rickshaw?" he asked, attempting to catch her attention. The schoolgirl, or whoever she was, remained haughtily silent, her lips tightly pursed as she ignored him. Kim Chomji, sensing her indifference, tried again. "Miss, I can take you anywhere for a very reasonable fare. Where are you headed?" He gingerly reached out toward the Japanese-style purse she held. "Why are you bothering me?" she shouted abruptly, turning away. Kim Chomji retreated, muttering an apology as he stepped back. Just then, the tram arrived. Kim Chomji observed as passengers boarded. His intuition didn't fail him. As the tram started to fill up and move, one person remained. Judging by the size of the bag he carried, it seemed he might have been forced off the crowded tram due to his luggage. Kim Chomji approached him. "Would you like to take the rickshaw?" he asked. After some bargaining, they agreed on 60 jeons to take him to Insadong. Strangely, as the rickshaw grew heavier, Kim Chomji's body felt lighter. But when the rickshaw became lighter again, his body felt heavier. This time his mind was restless. The image of his home loomed before him, leaving him no room to hope for luck. He had to scold his legs, which felt like someone else's or like wooden stilts, and he had no choice but to run around in confusion. The way that rickshaw puller is staggering drunk, how will he manage on these dark, muddy streets? Someone passing by might worry. As Kim Chomji quickened his steps in urgency, the cloudy, rainy sky already seemed dusk-like. It wasn't until he reached in front of Changyang Palace that he caught his breath and slowed his pace. With each step closer to home, his heart strangely softened. Yet this softness didn't come from relief, but from the fear of facing the dreadful misfortune that awaited him without any escape. He hurriedly sought to prolong the time before misfortune struck. If he could prolong the joy of having earned something close to a miracle, he wanted to do so. He darted around as if his own legs, inevitably leading him towards misfortune, were beyond his control, as if pleading for someone to catch him, to save him. Just then, his friend, Chisam, emerged from a tavern along the street. Chisam's chubby face was flushed with alcohol, and his cheeks and chin were blackened with stubble. In stark contrast, Kim's cheeks were sunken, and his beard seemed to cling only to the underside of his jaw like inverted pine needles. Hey there, Kim Chomji. Looks like you've been on a successful business trip. Let's have a drink. You must have earned quite a bit, Chisam called out, his voice soft and jovial despite his rough appearance. Kim Chomji couldn't help but feel grateful to encounter this friend. It was almost as if he saw him as a benefactor, someone who had saved him. You seem to have already had a drink. Looks like you're having a good time today, Kim Chomji said, smiling weakly. Well, if I'm not having a good time, does that mean I can't drink? But hey, why do you look like a drowned rat? Come on in quickly, Chisam replied, beckoning him inside. The tavern was warm and cozy. Each time the lid of the pot-boiling fish stew was lifted, fragrant steam rose, accompanied by sizzling grilled meat and various side dishes such as stir-fried pork, organs, livers, kidneys, dried pollack, and mung bean pancakes, spread out messily on the table. Kim Chomji suddenly felt uncontrollable hunger at the sight. If it were up to him, he would have swallowed all the food on the table without hesitation. Nevertheless, the hungry man managed to nibble on 2 hefty mung bean pancakes and ordered a bowl of fish stew. After tasting the food, his hungry stomach grumbled even louder, demanding more. In no time, he gulped down a bowl of soup with tofu and fish as if it were water. When he accepted a third serving, 2 more generous cups of macchioli were brought over. Drinking with Chisam, his empty stomach absorbed the alcohol, which spread through his intestines and made his face flush. He eagerly requested another cup of macchioli. Kim Chomji's eyes were growing heavy. He eagerly sliced up the 2 pieces of rice cake on the grill and asked for 2 more cups of macchioli. Chisam looked at Kim Chomji with a puzzled expression. Hey, you're pouring again. We've already had 4 cups each. That's 40 Johns. Oh, come on, 40 Johns isn't that bad. Today I made a lot of money. What a lucky day it's been. Really? How much did you make? I made 31. 31. Why wouldn't I celebrate with this damn drink? It's okay. It's okay. Drink up. I made a fortune today. You're drunk. Let's call it a night. You fool. Do you really think I'm drunk on this? Drink up quickly, the intoxicated man shouted, grabbing Chisam's ear. Then he rushed towards the waiter, a young boy with a shaved head. You lazy bum, why aren't you pouring drinks? He scolded. The waiter with the shaved head chuckled and exchanged glances with Chisam, as if seeking guidance. Recognizing the exchange, the drunkard erupted in anger. You damn scoundrels, you think I'm out of money. With that, he fumbled at his waist and pulled out a 1-1 note, throwing it in front of the waiter. Several coins clinked as they fell from it onto the counter. Hey, some money fell. Why are you tossing it around? Chisam said, picking up the fallen money. Even in his drunken state, Kim Chomji looked around as if searching for where the money had fallen. Then, with a look of disgust, he shook his head as if appalled by his own actions and exclaimed angrily, Look at these filthy scoundrels. You guys think I'm out of money? I should have broken your legs. Taking the money Chisam handed him, he slapped it down, saying, This cursed money. This should be torn apart money, and threw it. The coins hit the pot used for boiling liquor and clanged as if being punished for their sin. The 2 cups of macchioli dried up without any hesitation. Kim Chomji sucked the liquor from his lips and beard, then, looking quite satisfied, touched his inverted pine needle-like beard. Pour some more. Pour some more, he shouted. After another drink, Kim Chomji tapped Chisam's shoulder and suddenly burst into laughter. The sound of his laughter was so loud that everyone in the tavern turned their eyes to him. Chuckling, he said, Listen, Chisam, shall I tell you something funny? Today, I went all the way to the train station carrying a passenger there. And then, after going there, I just couldn't come back. So at the tram stop, I found myself scheming to pick up a passenger. There, whether it was a madam or a schoolgirl, how can you tell these days a prostitute from a lady, wrapped in a cloak, getting soaked in the rain? I approached stealthily and offered to carry her bag, but she just flung my hand away and abruptly turned, saying, Why do you bother people like this? That sound was truly like the chirping of a sparrow. Ha ha! Kim Chomji artfully imitated her voice, sounding like a sparrow. Everyone burst into laughter at once. The damn shrew! Who does she think she is? Why bother others? Oh my, she's really something. Ha ha! The laughter grew louder, but before it could die down, Kim Chomji began to sob uncontrollably. Chisam looked at the drunkard incredulously, saying, Just a moment ago, you were laughing and joking, and now you're crying. What's going on? Kim Chomji sniffled. My wife passed away. What, your wife passed away? When? When, you ask? Today. Ah, you madman, stop lying. Why would I lie? She really died. I found her corpse at home, and here I am drinking. I'm a dead man, Kim Chomji wailed, tears streaming down his face. Chisam, now sobering up a bit, said with a stern expression, Is this guy for real? Telling the truth one moment and lies the next. Let's go home. Come on, as he pulled the crying man's arm. Pushing away Chisam's restraining hand, Kim Chomji chuckled with teary eyes. Who's dead? Nobody's dead, he exclaimed with relief. Why would she die? She's alive and kicking. That darn woman is killing foods, not herself. Now you're fooled by me, he laughed, clapping his hands like a child. Is this guy really crazy? I heard your wife was sick, but Chisam too? I felt a sense of unease, urging Kim Chomji to go back home. She's not dead. She's not, Kim Chomji shouted defiantly, though his voice carried a hint of desperation, as if he was trying to convince himself she was still alive. After reluctantly settling the 1-1 bill and downing another round of macchioli, they left. The drizzle continued persistently. Even in his intoxicated state, Kim Chomji managed to buy Soleungtang and make his way home. To call it a home was an exaggeration. It was more of a small hut, a rented room detached from the main building, where he fetched water and paid 1-1 a month. If Kim Chomji hadn't been drunk, the oppressive silence that enveloped the place would have made his legs tremble, like the eerie stillness after a storm passes over the sea. The silence was suffocating. Not a single cough or breath could be heard. The only sound was the steady, unnerving noise of sucking, like a child nursing, but harsher, suggesting empty breasts. This sound, far from breaking the silence, deepened its ominous presence. Those with sensitive hearing would find it particularly grating. Perhaps Kim Chomji sensed the foreboding quiet too. Otherwise, it was odd that he shouted as soon as he entered, something not characteristic of him. That damned woman! She doesn't even bother to come out when her husband returns. Damn her! His outburst seemed more an attempt to fend off the creeping dread than a genuine complaint. Kim Chomji burst through the door. The air inside was thick with a cocktail of odors. Dust from the fallen straw mat, the stench of unwashed diapers, the smell of feces and urine, the stale odor of unwashed clothes, and the sour scent of sweat from a sick person, all of which assaulted his dulled senses. Before setting down the seongtang, the drunkard, drawing from the depths of his lungs, bellowed again, That damn woman! She lies around all day and night. She won't even get up when her husband comes home. With these words, he kicked the legs of the figure lying on the floor. But instead of the resistance of flesh, his foot met the unyielding sensation of a log. The steady sucking sound turned into a whimper. The child, deprived of his mother's milk, whimpered, his face twisted in a grimace. Yet the sound of crying seemed to come not from his mouth, but deep from his belly. After a while, even the urge to cry faded. Seeing that his kicking was futile, Kim Chomji rushed to his wife's side. He grabbed her head, which looked like a tangled magpie's nest, and shook it vigorously. Woman, speak up. Speak. Why won't you talk? Damn it. Look at this. Not a word. Woman, are you dead? Why won't you speak? No response. She might really be dead. As he finally noticed her eyes, blankly staring upwards, he choked out, these eyes, why do they avoid looking at me and instead stare at the ceiling? His voice faltered, choked with emotion. At that moment, thick tears fell from his grieving eyes, splattering onto her lifeless face. Suddenly, as if driven mad, Kim Chomji pressed his face against hers and murmured incoherently, I bought Soleungtang. Why won't you eat it? Why won't you eat it? Today, of all days, when luck was on my side. Published in 1924,